Welcome back to part 3 of my videos concerning the Fool's Path. So actually what you have seen in the first 2 videos is how the Fool's Path and how the reading was done, or how I did it for years. And then a friend of mine asked me about something very interesting. Have you ever tried to put the positions into a circle? Actually, she came up with the idea because she knows that I am a great fan of the Round Table of King Arthur, and so I tried it and I found out something amazing concerning it. So in this video I will just show you what position, or if you take the major arcana and you put them into a circle, it is very interesting what card is the counterpart of the other one, which card is sitting across the round table on the other side. And then I will show you in an example what that means for a reading, what it means for the position in itself in the reading. But let me take the major arcana and just show you what are the two each time that are sitting across each other. The first one that sits across is the Magician and the Hanged One. So I think this is quite interesting, because what is it telling us? The Magician, that's us. That's who we think we are. That's the part of us that we think that we are controlling, or that's the part of us that thinks is controlling his environment, his life. And he's sitting across the Hanged One, who either gives up that control in full consciousness and confidence, or who is going to find out that control does not exist and will lose whatever thing, whatever he thought to be control. So I think it is interesting to see that exactly the two parts, the two archetypes are sitting across the table, and so they can watch each other. You can say that it is like a communication. What is the Hanged Man going to tell the Magician? In a way to say, you think that you know who you are. You really believe that you know who you are. Well, I'm just going to show you that you have no idea whatsoever, and that whatever you think you have in control with the person that you are is just illusion. So the next 2 cards and positions for the readings that will end up facing each other is the High Priestess and Death. So what is their link, actually? The link is a very interesting one. Our High Priestess is our intuition. And the intuition is the part of knowledge where we have no idea where it comes from. So it may be an old knowledge, something that actually we have not forgotten the knowledge, but we have forgotten the root. And if you take it in an archetypal way, you could say it is the position of the grandmother, or the ancestors, the motherly ancestors. So maybe even concerning people that we do not even know anymore. And death is exactly the other side of it. It's exactly the counterpart. Because those ancestors, we get our information, or we still carry our information with us. Well, they are forgotten, they are dead. So we come up with a death card sitting as a counterpart on the table, at the table. So just the way that you could say we reach into things that have been long forgotten and we take it into our life, and at a certain moment when we leave this place, when we leave this earth, then this knowledge may become forgotten again as we become forgotten. And so you find the circle here again. So the two cards are actually like the two counterparts of the unknown. The knowledge coming out of something unknown, and the moment people forget about us and we become unknown again. The next two cards and counterparts are the Empress and the Temperance. The Empress and the Temperance. I really had to pay attention now, because I was saying Emperance. So no, Empress and Temperance. So what is their subject in a certain way? So I think it is interesting to see this Temperance with this cauldron in front of her, a little bit like the Empress, like the motherly part that is nourishing again. And while the Empress is the one who is creating and who is nourishing something that is outside, that has been created outside, the Temperance tells us to get our balance back, to get our own nourishing back, to get our rhythm back. So it is nourishing. The subject is nourishing. Nourishing other ones, creating something else, and in a certain way recreating ourselves. Then we have the Emperor. And the counterpart of the Emperor is the Devil. And this is actually the moment that I really became aware that our way to understand the Devil concerning tarot has a lot to do with religion, and people are still going into that direction to say it is something we cling to. It is something we cling to, and so on. But the moment I saw those two facing each other, there is a mythology that came up in my mind. Actually, the one I was reminded of to bring up the idea to put them on a round table, at a round table. I will get it for today. Because there's something very interesting. If you take tarot decks with the Arthurian tarot decks, the Emperor is always King Arthur. There is something very interesting to know about the Round Table and King Arthur. On the Round Table, the place in front of King Arthur was empty. And it was the space that was made for his son Mordred. And Mordred, for his part, was his arch enemy. He never gave this a chance concerning the whole mythology, because actually he got his son with his half sister, and that was logically by religious standards it was not allowed. So he didn't want to see that part of him, and so Mordred never had to. His place was there, but he never had the right to end up at the table. Just the way we take parts of ourselves and we deny them, and the more dangerous, the more uncomfortable, the more bad and evil we consider those parts, the more we push them away, really deep down into our shadow. But the mythology goes on, the legend goes on. Actually, at the end, King Arthur fights Mordred and they both die. So actually, if we are not inviting our deepest shadow, the part that we hate the most, the part we do not want to see the most from ourselves, if we do not invite that part at our inner round table, we are going to destroy ourselves. We need that part. It is the same moment our archenemy as it is, how should I put this, the most important part that we may have, actually. Because concerning the legend, for King Arthur, he was the reminder that he came from another religion, that he came from natural religions, and that actually he just made a ritual and this was the result of it. So the moment you start reading the devil as counterpart of the emperor, the devil becomes, well, not that bad anymore. He has a right to be on that table. And the way that the emperor is our part that is creating our reality, we do not have the possibility to deny a part of our reality. So we need to take him out, we need to set him at that table, and we need both to confront each other to integrate that part. Not with a judgment to still consider it to be evil, but in a way to understand that it is needed, dearly needed inside of us to become whole again. Unfortunately, no Arthurian deck until now has Mordred as the devil. I would love to see that one turning up. The next one is the Hierophant. And the Hierophant's counterpart is the Tower. So what are their ideas? What is their common subject? Our beliefs, our inner beliefs. The Hierophant has a lot to do with, people think that it has something to do with ethics, morality. No, it has something to do with our belief of what ethical parts are. As we go along in our life, as we grew up, our first ethical idea or our first morality absolutely and strictly bases on what we have been taught by our parents, who have been taught by their parents, and so on. So that's the other part of ancestry. And as we go along in our life, we may find out that those parts are not functioning anymore. And if we have built something like a tower on it, it will crumble at a certain moment, as we have to re-question our beliefs, as we have to re-question our morality, our sense of morality that may not be that moral. So our high priest, it is that part, because that is the base, actually, the tower stands on, and it's the base that is weakening, so the tower is going to crumble. So here we have the subject, and the two counterparts of the same subject is our beliefs, our idea of reality, our idea of good and bad. It has just gotten a kick because of the devil being accepted on the table, on the round table. So this is the moment that the belief of morality, the belief of good and evil that we had and that has been brought to us from our parents, from the grandparents, from the ancestors, may just crumble because it does not function at this moment anymore. The next part, the next card, are the Lovers and the Star. And I think this is an amazing one too. So actually, the Lovers has a lot to do with decisions. And we were talking about, when you take my reading and the Fool's Path, it's not the decision between who we are going to marry, who we are going to be with, and so on, but concerning an incision inside of us where we are split and we try to bring our parts together. And it's only when our parts are together that we can set our goals, that we can get an idea of what the goals are. it's a little bit like if you have still all those inner pieces being split up, then you see a complete night sky with a lot of stars. The moment that they are together, they all take a look at the same star, they are all taking a look at the same goal. And it fits again into those counterparts from before. So what happens? You have the emperor who accepts the part that he denied the most on his in himself, in his room, at the table. So that is the moment that they become integrated. They get into communication, they get integrated. And that is the moment that old beliefs crumble and we get a new idea and we get a new goal that we can now openly live for and that we can openly look at, because we do not hide anymore behind the whole tower that we were building up concerning old beliefs that we never decided actually to take them on. We were just raised that way. The next card is the Chariot with the moon. And here again, we get a very interesting part. The Chariot is the one who, first of all, we are always talking about, wait, there it is, about the horses, that we try to get them onto one direction. You know, the direction is now clear because we have the star. And that is the moment that we are making our way. That's the moment actually that we get the first step onto the fool's path. And the same moment we have the moon, and the moon is very closely linked to pregnancy. So that does not necessarily mean pregnancy in a way of that a woman has to really become physically pregnant, but the pregnancy of an idea that is building up. So you have it here. So actually it is your steps on your way to become pregnant of that idea, to develop that idea. Here you have the steps that you are doing, or the first, or more like the first step, and so on. And here is actually the subject that you are working on. So again, those two fit together perfectly. And you just concentrating on working, or do you really have this thing you are burning for, that you know exactly why you are doing it? This may be, I am doing it, and this is the why I'm doing it. You are creating something. It's not simply a job that you have, you're creating something. And the next two cards, they simply seem to be obvious that they have to be together. It's the force and the sun. So you have two, let me call it like that, you have two sun cards, you have two lion cards actually. So if you take this in an astrological way, we know that this fits together. So the same way you find your inner force, you find your inner talent, and you find a way to create it, you start creating something. Something is going to be born out of it, out of yourself. And as I'm saying, it doesn't mean that it is a child, okay? But it's like we're saying, when you write a book, for example, people say, it's my baby. It's actually that. So you find out about your talent and you love to write, and then the book is the creation. So those are really, they are like obvious. And I am wondering, because I've never seen something like the round table before. And the moment I started taking a look at those cards, and it was like, but yes, this is actually functioning. This is exactly what we're talking about. So let's return into our inner part. In maybe the other parts were more like, they have a lot to do with your life, also in the outside life. Now we get back to the Hermit. And the Hermit has as counterpart the judgment. And this is something that is, again, it's like, for me at least, it's like, yes, well, it's obvious. The Hermit tells us about our higher self. Is telling us about our motives and our motivation, why we are doing something. Why are we handling reacting like this? Why are we acting like this? Why are we living like this? And so on. And what comes out of the motivation and out of the motive is the judgment. It's the consequence of it. So this, again, it just mirrors the other part. So if you do something out of that and that reason, then the consequence will be as such. It's not what you do at that moment that is going to have a consequence, but why you did it. And even on the part, if you take it in a religious way, if you take the Hermit and you say, okay, I'm really trying to check on my morality, I'm going to try to check on my ethics and so on, then whatever the great judgment will be afterwards, if you believe in God and you say, God is going to judge me, he will judge you because you had a how should I put it, a clean heart. It's a little bit, the judgment card at this moment could be the Egyptian god Anubis, who is weighing your heart. And this is the place where you make up your heart. You make up not your mind, but your heart, about how I am going to do those steps. If I want to become rich, am I going to become rich in an honest way, or am I going to steal people's money? And this will be judged at the end. So call it karma, call it, as I'm saying, imagine it as Anubis weighing your heart. So there again, the two cards standing in the circle, standing one versus the other, fit perfectly together. And then we get to the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune, actually our own life, our own reality, our inner world versus the world. So this, for me, it has a lot to do with the idea of equivalency, as in the inside, so the outside. So here you get those two, and they fit again perfectly together. You have the way you create your reality, the way you are going to see the rest of the world. So again, it fits, and I am taking the world very often into what are the options that are offered to you. If you create your own reality that you are worth getting offers, you will see all the offers that the world is going to show. A lot of people, when they do something, especially into that direction, into spiritual direction, into direction to work with themselves, they are telling you, oh, it's difficult. So they will only see in the world outside, they will only see the difficulties. They are not going to see the opportunities. So again, the two cards fit together. And then, last but definitely not least, you have the Justice and the Fool. And here in the beginning I had a bit of difficulty to understand it, but by now I finally understand it. The Fool may not be conscious. I am careful with that word, because subconscious and unconscious, it's very close. So what is he not conscious of? He is not conscious that he is an individual, that he is like apart from others. And so he either takes them as part of him, or he sees the world as a part of him. And it's only with the time that he is saying, oh, I stop here and the table starts here. And on the other side, Justice takes all this again together. So while you have non-judgmental way in the Fool, because he has no idea what judgment means. You have no partiality in it. So you could say this, he is impartial, and the Justice is all partial. So if, for example, you are coaching, a lot of people say you have to be impartial. So you are not going to give one of the two. If two are arguing and you are the one who's coaching both, you're not saying that one is right or that one is right. You should stay out of it. That's not the way it works. It goes that you say, that you find out, that is the part I understand how this person is right, and I say how this person is right, and then you have to bring them together. And this is actually justice. And just come up with the idea. I would call this card the coach. So that is all partiality. You are partial for all of them. You are not saying right or wrong, but right. And the Fool has no idea what right and wrong is, so he is impartial. So this is what brings them together. I hope this gives you a certain idea of that maybe there is a reason why those cards end up the way they are numbered and the way they go through the steps. And there is a reason that you can put them on a round table and find out that there is a logic behind each one who is sitting versus the other one who is sitting across the table of the other one. And now you can imagine, if you do this, just as example, I'm taking out two positions to give you an idea on this. My two positions, I just have to try it out. The Emperor and the Devil. So King Arthur and Mordred. So our idea of reality versus what we do not want to see. And along now in the reading, what I'm doing on a second base, so on the base of the circle, you may turn up with cards. So I'm just picking two cards. As I'm saying, it's an example. So imagine in the place of the Emperor, you have the Fool. So this may be an information about, actually, you're just about to build a new self, a new reality. Maybe you never got the opportunity to really build up your own, and you now start becoming aware, oh, it's my life, so I have to make my rules, even if they have to fit into the rules of our society. But I have to make the rules. I have to find out what works for me, and so on. And so I end up with the Fool. So he's just not, you may not be conscious that actually you are the one who is creating your own reality. So this might be the message here. The Fool in the Emperor. And in the Devil's place, I end up with the Hierophant. So my question that I'm always asking at the position of the Devil is, what is it that I do not allow myself to be or to do? And here it is, bringing up a new set of morality, or maybe even you have been raised, or the person has been raised with a father who, I don't know, who beat his mother up and so on. And sort of that is his reality, okay? Men beat women up. And then he finds out that his grandfather was actually a very nice guy and very kind. And so he has to write to go back further than just his father to recreate a morality. And if you take this now and you say, okay, you have those two. This one who is not conscious that he is creating his reality himself, maybe it has, this unconsciousness has something to do with the fact that he is denying, he's so much into this image of, that could be a whole story behind. It's maybe a guy who says, I can only be a bad person because I've seen how my father was, and so on. And because he has this idea of male people being like that, he just pushes away that there was a good grandfather or that there was a good uncle or something, and just pushing it away, sort of, don't talk to me about that family. I don't want to have anything to do with that family. And he throws all the family away, even if there were good parts in it. And because he's denying that, that is the moment that he stays unconscious, that he creates his own reality. And the moment he can accept that part, then he can, like, tap into it, tap into those information, tap into that knowledge and that wisdom to bring it forth and to create his new reality. So this is actually the way you end up with reading counterparts at that moment. This idea of counterparts goes even a little bit further. I will show that in the next video. Because during the reading, you can end up with a person, with a card being in its own counterpart. And that again is an information more, it's a different layer. It goes even deeper again, and it gives you more information about what to check, where is it, because those counterparts are very often in conflict, especially if that other one is sitting. So if you have the position of, for example, the magician and the hanged one, and the magician is sitting, is the visitor of the house of the hanged one, then check out what is going on. This is like an information. You have altogether information, and you always have those things that pop up, like people who read cards only upright, and then sometimes one turns up the other way around, and you say, oh, that's a message more. And this is kind of message that will come up this way. I will show you this in a further video, so because I don't want them to be too long. So here was the global part of what does it mean to put them into a circle, what is the information, what is possible with it. And so in the next video I will show you the next step of this. As always, thanks for watching. You may check my channel altogether. I have a special playlist concerning the videos of the Fool's Path, so you have all the possibility to take a good look at them. Thank you.